You think your Monday mornings are rough? Try waking up in 1547 England, where your biggest concern isn't traffic or coffee. It's whether you'll live to see Tuesday. Here's the thing about Tudor England that nobody tells you. It wasn't just harsh or difficult. It was a perfectly designed death trap where every single thing you touched, ate, drank, or breathed was actively trying to kill you. The rich died from luxury poisons, the poor died from starvation, and everyone in between died from pure bad luck. Forget everything you've seen in those pretty period dramas with their clean costumes and perfect teeth. Real Tudor life was a relentless nightmare where survival wasn't about being smart or strong. It was about being incredibly, impossibly lucky every single day. From the moment you opened your eyes in a freezing hovel to the moment you closed them, hoping you wouldn't die in your sleep, every hour brought fresh ways to suffer. Disease, violence, starvation, execution, torture, betrayal, take your pick. Most people experienced all of them before they turned 30. So buckle up, because we're about to walk through a typical day in Tudor England. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll be kissing the ground you live on today. Your bedroom is actually a disease factory. Wake up, sunshine. Except there is no sunshine because your window is just a hole in the wall covered with oiled cloth that barely keeps the rain out. Glass windows? Those are for rich people who can afford to flaunt their wealth like medieval billionaires. Your bed isn't actually yours. You're sharing it with your entire family, possibly some neighbors, and definitely a thriving ecosystem of fleas, lice, and bedbugs that treat your blood like an all-you-can-eat buffet. The mattress is a sack stuffed with straw that hasn't been changed in months, mixed with whatever rags people could find. Sometimes those rags came from plague victims' houses. Sweet dreams! The floor beneath you isn't wood or stone. It's packed dirt covered with rushes that are supposed to absorb all the wonderful smells of daily life. Urine, vomit, food scraps, and yes, human waste all get absorbed into this medieval carpet that never, ever gets cleaned. It just gets covered with fresh rushes when the smell becomes absolutely unbearable. Your room temperature? Whatever the weather outside decides it should be, minus a few degrees. No insulation, no heating, no nothing. People regularly died of exposure in their own homes during winter. The lucky ones just lost fingers and toes to frostbite. And that's assuming you even have a room to yourself. Most people lived in single-room hovels with their animals. Pigs, chickens, goats. They all lived inside during winter because letting them freeze to death meant starvation for the whole family. So you wake up next to your sick uncle, 3 crying babies, and a pig that's been shitting in the corner all night. The air you're breathing is thick with smoke from the fire that never goes out because starting a new fire is expensive and difficult. Your lungs are constantly filled with wood smoke, animal dander, and the sweet aroma of unwashed human bodies that haven't seen soap in weeks. Oh, and about those unwashed bodies, including yours. You're wearing the same clothes you've worn for months without washing them. Your underwear, if you even have any, is a luxury item that gets washed maybe once a year. Your skin is covered in a permanent layer of grime, sweat, and God knows what else. This is your morning routine. Wake up cold, itchy, smelly, and surrounded by disease. And this is just the beginning of your day. Breakfast could literally kill you. Time for breakfast. If you're poor, congratulations. You start your day with alcohol. Not because you're a party animal, but because drinking water is basically a death wish. Wells and rivers are full of rotting animals, human waste, and enough bacteria to wipe out a village before lunchtime. So yes, you and your kids are chugging ale before 8 a.m. And that ale, brewed in someone's backyard by a person who just wiped with a leaf and called it hygiene. Sanitation is a myth. Sometimes the ale goes sour, sometimes it develops mold that makes you hallucinate. You drink it anyway because the alternative is dysentery. And that's just breakfast roulette, Tudor edition. If you're lucky, you get bread, not the fluffy Instagram stuff. This is dense, sour, chalk-laced misery loaf. Bakers cut it with sawdust, powdered bones, and occasionally poison to make it look whiter and more expensive. You eat it because it's that or starve. Even the rich don't escape. They get meat for breakfast, which has been hanging in open-air markets for days, swarming with flies, bacteria, and regret. Oh, and milk, straight from the cow, no pasteurization. A single gulp is a fun little game called Guess Which Infection You'll Die From. And since you're already mentally preparing to die from your food, here's a quick survival tip for the modern world. Don't just survive arguments, dominate them. If you want to win debates like Caesar, reframe like Machiavelli, and trap people with their own logic like Socrates, grab my ebook, How to Win Any Argument Using Historical Logic. It's packed with rhetorical weapons from history's most dangerous minds. The kind that win minds, meetings, and yes, maybe even dinner table arguments with your uncle. Use code TUDOR for 20% off. Links in the pinned comment, because verbal combat should feel epic, not deadly. Anyway, your breakfast is over. You've survived the first meal of the day without being poisoned, burned, or infected. Congrats. Time to head to town square and watch someone get executed. Watch your neighbors get tortured. After your toxic breakfast, it's time for the morning's main event: public torture and execution. This isn't some dark corner of society. It's the town's primary form of entertainment, education, and social bonding. Think of it as Netflix, the news, and a sporting event all rolled into one bloody spectacle. The stocks and pillories are set up right in the town square, where everyone can get a good view. Criminals, and by criminals, we mean people who stole a loaf of bread, spoke back to a nobleman, or practiced the wrong religion, are locked in wooden restraints while the crowd pelts them with whatever's handy. Rotten eggs, human waste, dead rats, stones. Children are encouraged to participate because this is considered educational. But the real crowd pleasers are the executions. Hangings happen regularly, and they're not the quick neck snap you see in movies. These are slow strangulations that can take 10 minutes or more. The crowd cheers when the condemned person's bowels release, which happens every single time. It's considered the highlight of the show. If you're really lucky, you might catch a drawing and quartering. The victim gets hanged until almost dead, then cut down and disemboweled while still conscious. Their intestines are burned in front of them before they're finally decapitated and chopped into quarters. The head and body parts get displayed around town as decoration and warning. London Bridge was literally lined with rotting heads on spikes, a grotesque skyline that greeted every visitor to the city. Women who committed petty treason, like poisoning their husbands, got burned alive at the stake. The executioner sometimes had mercy and strangled them first, but often they burned conscious. The smell of burning human flesh became as familiar as any other market smell. You don't learn this in history classes out there, but these executions weren't just punishment. They were carefully orchestrated psychological warfare against the population. The message was clear. This is what happens when you step out of line. Everyone from toddlers to grandparents was expected to attend and cheer. The condemned often gave speeches before dying, and these became public theater. Some begged for forgiveness, others cursed their accusers, and a few tried to maintain dignity. The crowd would rate their performance like judges at a talent show. Between executions, there were floggings, brandings, and ear removals to keep everyone entertained. Public urination on the punished was not just allowed but encouraged. Bringing your children to watch was considered good parenting, teaching them about consequences through trauma. This was your morning routine. Grab some toxic ale, find a good spot in the crowd, and watch your neighbors get systematically destroyed by the state while everyone cheers. And the worst part? You had to cheer too, or risk being the next day's entertainment yourself. Your doctor will finish the job. Feeling under the weather? Time to meet your local barber surgeon, a delightful fellow who cuts hair, pulls teeth, and performs amputations with the same set of unwashed tools. Medical school? That's for rich physicians who treat nobility. Your guy learned his trade by watching other people die horribly and thinking, I could probably do that better. His medical kit consists of a rusty razor, some dirty rags, and maybe a bone saw if you're dealing with a real professional. Sterilization is a concept that won't be invented for another few centuries, so every procedure comes with a free side of infection. That small cut on your hand, it's about to become gangrene that kills you in a week. The standard treatment for basically everything is bloodletting. Headache? Drain some blood. Broken bone? More blood. Plague symptoms? Definitely need to remove more blood from your already dying body. They'll use leeches, make cuts with dirty knives, or just punch holes in you with primitive lancets. The theory is that bad blood causes all illness, so the solution is to remove as much blood as possible until you either get better or die. Mostly you die. If bloodletting doesn't work, they'll try purging your system with mercury. Yes, the highly toxic metal that causes brain damage, kidney failure, and death. It was considered a miracle cure for syphilis and other diseases. The treatment motto was literally a night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. Patients would drool uncontrollably, lose their teeth, develop tremors, and go insane. But hey, at least they didn't have syphilis anymore when they died. Anesthesia doesn't exist. If you need surgery, you get a leather strap to bite down on and maybe some alcohol if you're lucky. Operations are performed by men who learned anatomy by digging up corpses and poking around. They have no concept of germs, no understanding of circulation, and no idea what most organs actually do. But they're confident enough to cut you open anyway. The most popular surgical procedure is trepanation, drilling holes in your skull to release evil spirits. Having headaches, demonic possession, acting strange, definitely need some holes in your brain. The mortality rate is about what you'd expect from people drilling into heads with medieval power tools. For internal problems, they prescribe wonderful remedies like powdered unicorn horn, crushed pearls, or distilled urine. Plague victims get treated with theriac, a mixture of dozens of ingredients including viper's flesh, which costs more than most people make in a year and does absolutely nothing except separate you from your money before you die. The mortality rate for any medical intervention is staggering. Going to see a doctor is often a death sentence with extra steps. Most people who survived illnesses did so by avoiding medical care entirely and letting their bodies heal naturally. The ones who trusted their local barber surgeon usually ended up as cautionary tales for the next generation. Your best bet for staying healthy? Don't get sick in the first place, and if you do, pray to whatever saints specialize in hopeless causes, because once you're in the hands of Tudor medicine, you're probably doomed. The law is designed to execute you. Welcome to Tudor justice, where the legal system operates on a simple principle. When in doubt, execute everyone. The law isn't designed to protect you or ensure fairness. It's an elaborate death machine designed to eliminate anyone who might possibly be a problem for the ruling class. Here's how screwed you are. There are over 200 crimes punishable by death. Stealing anything worth more than 12 pence? Death. Poaching a rabbit on noble land? Death. Being out at night without a good reason? Death. Cutting down someone else's tree? Death. The legal system is essentially made existing while poor a capital offense. But here's where it gets really insane. Treason is whatever the king says it is on any given day. Saying the king looks tired? That's questioning his divine health. Treason. Suggesting the queen might be infertile? That's attacking the royal bloodline. Treason. Predicting the king's death, even if it's obvious he's dying? That's wishing death on the monarch. Treason. One guy got executed for saying King Henry VIII was too fat to get through the gates of heaven. Another got his head chopped off for refusing to acknowledge the king's marriage to Anne Boleyn. A woman was burned alive for saying the king was a heretic. The law wasn't about right and wrong. It was about keeping the royal ego intact. The court system is a joke designed to guarantee conviction. You don't get a defense lawyer. You don't get to see the evidence against you. You don't get to call witnesses in your favor. The prosecutor, judge, and jury are all appointed by the same crown that's trying to kill you. Your trial is basically a formality before your execution. Torture is completely legal and widely used to extract confessions. The rack stretches your joints until they dislocate. The thumb screws crush your fingers one bone at a time. The Iron Maiden, well, that one's self-explanatory. And here's the beautiful part. If you confess under torture, you're guilty. If you don't confess, you're obviously a hardened criminal who deserves worse torture. The death penalty comes in several entertaining varieties depending on your crime and social status. Nobles get the quick chop of an axe. Commoners get hanged, drawn, and quartered. Women get burned. Traitors get the full treatment, hanged until almost dead, disemboweled while conscious, beheaded, and chopped into pieces that get displayed around the kingdom. But even if you somehow avoid the death penalty, you're still screwed. Lesser punishments include having your ears cut off, getting brand on the face, or having your hand amputated. These aren't just punishments. They're permanent marks that tell everyone you're a criminal. Good luck finding work or housing with thief burned into your forehead. The really sick part? The law is deliberately vague and contradictory so that anyone can be found guilty of something. Authorities can twist any action into a crime if they want to get rid of you. Being too successful? You're threatening the social order. Being too poor? You're a vagrant and a burden on society. There's literally no safe way to exist. Your best strategy for dealing with Tudor law? Don't exist. Don't be noticed. Don't have opinions. Don't own anything worth stealing. And definitely don't ever, under any circumstances, say anything that could be interpreted as criticism of anyone in power. Because in Tudor England, the law isn't there to protect you, it's there to kill you as efficiently as possible. A viper's nest in silk. Think the royal court is all fancy parties and elegant dancing. It's actually a psychological battlefield where everyone is simultaneously plotting to kill everyone else while smiling and exchanging pleasantries. The palace isn't a place of honor. It's a den of psychopaths wearing expensive clothes. Every conversation is a potential death sentence. Courtiers spend their days crafting seemingly innocent remarks that could destroy their rivals. Complimenting someone's wife too enthusiastically? You're obviously planning to seduce her. Failing to compliment the queen's new dress? You're clearly showing disrespect to the crown. There's no safe response to anything. The king's favor is literally the only thing keeping anyone alive, and it changes faster than the weather. Today's trusted advisor is tomorrow's headless corpse. Henry VIII went through wives, friends, and advisors like a serial killer with commitment issues. Thomas More was his best friend and trusted counselor until he wasn't, and then he got his head chopped off. Thomas Cromwell orchestrated the king's divorce and rise to absolute power, then got executed when Henry decided he didn't like how it turned out. Poisoning is the court's favorite hobby, not just literal poison, though there's plenty of that too. Psychological poisoning, whispering the right rumor in the right ear at the right time to destroy someone's reputation and life.